Good morning, Flosstube. Pam here, stitching between the lines. Tuesday, June 5th. Oh my gosh. It's kind of gray and cold and rainy, but it's June. Amazing that at the end of this month we can say 2018 is half over. That's amazing. Anyway, I am surrounded by stuff. Stuff, and I think maybe I forgot something, but we'll just see. We might just have to let it ride because there's a lot of stuff. Anyway, on my last, well, I really don't know if it was on my last Flosstube or not because I can't find the comment, so I can't see who sent it. And it occurred to me recently that it could be on a previous video. But all the same, under activity, when I'm logged into YouTube, I should be able to see that comment. But somebody asked if I would consider showing how I stuff my pillows. So I have pieces and parts, and I'll do a little quickie something. It doesn't seem like, I feel like it's not anything special or unique as how you might imagine a pillow to be stuffed. But we will take a look at what I have and the pieces and things I have. So first, I gathered up what I had around, plus I got some things prepared. So the first thing I'm going to show you is this work in progress on the finishing on the quilt block that I did along with the third Farmhouse Christmas piece. Oh, which I do have here. As I've said before, I am doing Lynette of Homesteading on the Home Front, designed some quilt blocks. And there's 8 of them. So I'm doing one each month along with, there's some cat hair stitched right in there. Along each month when I do the Farmhouse Christmas block, I'm doing a quilt block. There's 9 Farmhouse Christmas, 8 quilt blocks. I'm not hoping for any more because 8 is enough for me right now. Possibly if I did a Christmas tree with these ornaments and felt like it was a little bare or sparse and could use some more, I would look forward to more. But in the meantime, each month doing one farmhouse block and one quilt block is plenty for me. So anyway, this one I'm working on. I'm doing the same thing I've been doing, the beaded edge. The beaded edge, I'm going to direct you to the tutorial on Snippet and Stash's blog, which she doesn't update anymore. Snippets and Stash, just like it sounds, .blogspot.com. Over on the left-hand side, she has a link to tutorials, and she does a beautiful job of showing how this is done. I'm not going to try to recreate that. You can go as simple as that and go look at hers. One of the key elements is, let me show you this, is the 4th Farmhouse Christmas block. I have been going around all of them with a row of stitches, 2 threads over 2, so that it's a meaty enough stitch that I can grab it with my needle, and then I slide over enough space and do the exact same thing, same size. So I'm doing that on both quilt block, square, and the pattern. So that's what I end up with, and ironically, when I start cutting them apart, I can't always remember which is the top of the plain block, so I'm gonna get better at marking that, because if you have a thicker fiber, if you're using linen, you want that thicker fiber to be meeting up with the stitch on the thicker fiber, you know, the same. So that's the idea behind that. Oh, another thing I didn't do it on this so you can't really see it, but I put a little fray check at each corner. Every corner I put a drop of fray check, because you're gonna trim the corner so that there's not as much bulk in there. So, and it's a little bit of a fussy job to put a needle through each of those matched up threads. I am every 3rd stitch grabbing a bead. On this one, I'm doing a white and a black bead combination. When I get almost all the way around, then I'll stuff it. I'm not going to show you how to stuff this. we'll get there. This is the third. Okay, so after one of the things that people keep commenting about on my pillows is how flat they are. So I talked in a previous video about the kind of stuffing I use is called cluster stuff, and about how I have like enough cluster stuff to fill a beanbag chair, but so a lifetime supply. But anyway, this is what it looks like. It's like almost like little pellets, beads, circles of regular poly fluff stuff. It's just not the long fibers. It's these little clusters. So you can't loft it. That's not possible. You would just be pulling yourself smaller and smaller little chunks. So I have some cluster stuff. This pillow, which is the one I just finished, and we'll show you its beaded edge, I did a little different. I did every third again. That I'm sticking with, every third. But I alternated two, let me get the light right, 2 whites and a red, 2 whites and a red. And I'm just, looking for variety, nothing fancy, no rhyme or reason to what I decide to do. So this pillow it's been stuffed, it's been finished, it has not been smushed with the iron. That's the thing that I do. I want my pillows generally to be flatter. I want them to be more like this. More like, what do I want to show you? More like this. Just not, I don't want to show you what this is yet. So we're trying to be, I just don't want that big bowing out you kind of get shape you get when you really, really stuff a pillow. And that's just me, and that's just these. Maybe there's times I would want that. So what I'll do, and I'll show a picture here. After I have pressed this, so you can see how full I have filled it. There's still some play in there. It's not as hard as a rock or anything. So I will come back to showing you this one after, or you've just seen the picture of this one flattened out. Oh, here's one. This one's done. This was the other block. This is one of my recent finishes. I think I showed last time that I was working on this quilt block, and I have finished it. I did this one with the bow and the loop on the corner. I don't know. Again, looking for variety. I'm not enamored with it, but you can see how flattish it is. I did this one with a not white, not clear, kind of a clear white bead. There we go. And that's the only color I used. I didn't change up the color on this one. So there's that. So then the other thing, the pillow I'm going to show you that I'm going to stuff. I'm kind of out of sequence on what I want to show you. So we'll just keep one. When I make a pillow, not beaded edge, where I leave it part of the edge open to stuff, what I do for a piece of backing is I cut a piece of fabric, and this piece of fabric is bigger than I need. I'm not concerned yet about sizing it exactly right. And then I cut it across the middle, and then I sew it together, but I leave an opening. So this will be in the back of my pillow. Easily hidden. If it gets a little pucker or something, you can either get over it and move on, or you can put a little patch on it, maybe that you've stitched the date and maybe some information. Here's one I've done. I'm not quite ready to show you this one yet. You can see here's the seam starting, and I fringed up a little tag and glued it on there. No secret. But a little, even if you don't want to do any of that, a little pucker in the back is less conspicuous than a pucker on the edge of your pillow. So that's what I do for a piece of back. So all the way around, snip the corners a little bit, and then turn it, and then use your pointy, pushy thing, something that turns out your corners so you get nice corners. This pillow, I'm not putting any kind of edging on, so I really do want the corners to come out looking nice. So here's this one. This is one of the lighthouses that Lana sent me. She stitched them and sent me her finished pieces, and I have been working my way through finishing them all into pillows, and they're in a double. So this is the last one, and I left it unfinished so I could it could be my sample. I had some unusual little buttons that are seashell. This is $1 that I added to one or two of these. So here it is with its little back, with its little. When I do this and I seam it, I press the seam open and I get a good press because I need to be able to stitch in that little crease. I want that crease to be crisp so it'll, I can work my needle in there easily. So then stuffing it, I have my needle in here ready to go for stitching it up. So it's in there. It's easier to put it in there before you've started than after you've been stuffing it. So I don't do anything magic. This is small. Sorry, it makes it a little hard. I don't do anything other than use my finger and work this in there. Working it into a corner and then another corner. Let's see if I can get this in some reasonable amount of time. And this is nowhere near enough stuffing, but the idea is that you can see I just work it in there, working it up into a corner, down into a corner, over into the sides, until, all the way around I think I have it as stuffed as I'd like it to be. That, like I said, this is clearly nowhere near enough. It's just a starter. But I get it in there, and you have to remember to stuff the very middle here because you've been cramming it up in all the corners and the edges until you have it what seems like, a nice amount. It's not as hard as a rock. It's a little squishy. I'm going to press it with the iron, which flattens it down. It kind of melts that polyfill a little bit and makes it all one piece. Well, someday I'll do it and I'll open one up. I was thinking about doing that. Time is precious. And seeing what this polyfill looked like after I ironed it. But I didn't. Like I said, time is precious. Then when I come to stitching this closed, I do a ladder stitch, which you can look it up online. I Googled ladder stitch before I started this to make sure I was naming it right, and they show it perfectly. This is small and busy backing. I'm not worried exactly about how exact it matches up. If I was worried about matching it without puckers, again, this is about 2 inches. It's not enough fabric to do a whole lot. I'll put little registration marks with an air or water erase pen to make sure when I go up with my needle, I go across and I come back down with my needle, that I match those registration marks. It's fussy. It's a little bit of a fussy thing. So there it is. There's no magic to it. There's nothing besides no learned thing. Maybe you have to learn a little ladder stitch. You do have to get your sewing machine out. You do have to, what I do when I do corners, I'm just looking to see if I have anything inside out. I don't. When I do corners, when I'm sewing them together, I sew from below where my corner's actually going to fall up and then off. And then I turn it and I do it again with the next one. And that crossing over a perpendicular stitch with a vertical stitch kind of locks it, so you don't have to, if you go forwards and backwards a few times, which you could do, you are putting more stitches in the exact same spot. So you're not really locking anything. You're not crossing over the edge of a stitch. So I don't pivot at a corner. I sew off and I start again and sew up and off and I start again and go, so that you've locked your stitch in. Locked a vertical with a horizontal stitch. So I don't have any corners popping through. I'm not overly aggressive with my corners when I poke them, but I do get all the fabric out the best I can so that my corners... Let's see where I can get it to focus on that. Anyway, I can't make it focus. The light outside changes constantly. It's windy, and the tree outside the window, the leaves blow. So it keeps moving how much light shines in here. So anyway, that really is my pillow method. Nothing magical, nothing, that you couldn't either devise or learn from watching the many, many tutorials that YouTube and Flosstube offer. So anyway, that gave you a little tiny hint of one of the little pillows that Lana sent me. I have finished all the rest, and they're in my dough bowl that I got. I don't know, it was a brand. There was a stamp on the bottom and all that. I got it at the Restore last fall. And in here's a piece of lace that I put on the bottom, probably crocheted by my grandmother, because that's what she did. And I have finished each of the little lighthouses that Lana sent. So this one I had some little shells. They were shells I bought at like Joann's for necklace making, and I used them on a quilted wall hanging that was this like a sandcastle. So I had bought these to stitch on around sporadically around the sand. So I had a few of those left. So there's that one. I was trying to mess with a little bit of rickrack. I wasn't really happy with the rickrack results, so there's just one that's a rickrack edged. And I revisited the rickrack on this one when I put it across there. So, and then this was the largest one. And again, it was just this. Now this pillow is much larger. And because of the button, I didn't want to melt the button, which is a starfish. I was a little less heavy-handed with the iron. I did it from the back, but I couldn't really come back around and do it from the front very well. So, and it's thicker, so it just didn't kind of behave in the same exact way, but it still came out cute. So it is in the bowl. I have some shells scattered in there, and soon I will have this last little pillow stuffed in there. So in my house, I have varying things that have to do with the ocean, especially in the summertime. I always think of the ocean in the summer the most. So I'm just going to set this down out of the way. So what's up next? There's been a lot of things happening. I went on a little bus trip this past week. Today's Tuesday. It was a Thursday, Friday. It was just a one night. We went up to the Thousand Islands to see a quilt show. The Thousand Islands is where the St. Lawrence River meets Lake Ontario up in New York, up in northern New York. And there's just little islands all over in the river. And I tried to take pictures. It was rainy the day we were there, the afternoon, and pictures just didn't lend itself to pictures. So I don't have any pictures, and we really didn't get to see a whole lot of the islands where we were. Some of the islands are bigger, some of the islands are little, some of them are just the size that there's a single house on it, and maybe if it's close enough to the shore, there'll be a walking bridge to get to the house, or maybe you have to get to your house by boat. So it's kind of a neat place to see. All ships come through the St. Lawrence River into Lake Ontario to go to whatever destinations out the Great Lakes. A cruise ship docked in the town we were in. And it had come down from Nova Scotia. So that was kind of fun to watch. We were just sitting in the little city park watching out over the river. It was kind of rainy, and we'd done all the things we were going to do that day, and we were just resting up and gathering with some of the other ladies. And all of a sudden the ship came. It was fun to watch. And we went to lots of quilt stores, fabric stores, and one wool shop. Kathleen, you would have died. I'm sure you've been to some fabulous quilt rug hooking wool shops. I went in there with the resolve. I was not going to do rug hooking. I came out of there with nothing that you would use for rug hooking. I did buy some wool because I'll do applique with that, but my friend that I traveled with, she's my quilting buddy, travel buddy, she bought one. She went in there knowing she was going to buy one to do a rug hooking. I didn't even look at them, didn't even look. And the next morning, that was our second day, the last day we got home that night. The next morning I woke up wishing I had looked, wishing I had taken on that hobby. Insane. I didn't even go to the demo and watch how it was done and try it. I have, somewhere along the line in my life, I think there was a rug hooking lesson. I think I was in art class in elementary school or something, and everybody could punch and do it and try it. And I've done punch needle before. But at any rate, it was such a fabulous store, and it was just 15 minutes from another fabulous store that my girlfriend and I said, we are going back. So we'll see. We may end up back up there. We may not. And what I bought that was stitching related, I'm not showing at this point in time. Suspense. Anyway, I will show you, what do I have on my notes? So we're not ready for whips yet. No, we have another thing to talk about. As many of you know who watch my Flosstube, I received from a friend a open road abode pattern, postcard pattern, this one. And I was so taken with it. Oops, I don't want to show the pattern. I just loved it. And I talked about it. And I talked about how I ordered more. I wanted just the postcards, but I couldn't find. I wanted this pattern, this one. And I couldn't find it in the postcard. I wanted to send to some people just because I thought it was such a cool thing that it was a postcard and it was a pattern and it was Americana, and you don't necessarily have to be a camping kind of person to appreciate, you know, the whole truck thing is very in. So anyway, I ended up ordering a pattern that was more like this, and it was a foursome kind of pattern. And I sent that to some people that I wanted to send a rack to. So I showed my finished version of this in the frame, which, oh, look, it's right over my shoulder. Let's see if we can get this right. It's in its frame right there. And I just was delighted with it. So anyway, apparently the difficulty in finding, I'm not the only one that was having difficulty finding the pattern. And so people started reaching out to the designer specific, saying, where can we buy your pattern? And she found out that people were learning about it from my Flosstube. I did not mention the patterns. I didn't do anything. I didn't talk about this pattern line and what I was so enamored with for any reason other than I was so taken with it and just thought it was original and clever. I grew up camping. Fondest childhood memories involved camping. We camped with our own kids. Traveled. We took them to Virginia Beach and Colonial Williamsburg and Walt Disney World, which is the best way to visit Walt Disney World, I'm telling you, is in your camper, especially with kids, because it's clean, it's fresh, it's lovely, and the kids get to sleep in their own bed, eat breakfast in their own, you know, what they're familiar with, take the boat from the campground over to the Magic Kingdom. It's wonderful. Chip and Dale by the fire. It really is a fabulous way to see Walt Disney World. Anyway, I digress. So anyway, the designer found out that I was talking about these and so on. And so she contacted me first. First, she posted me on her Facebook page. Oh my gosh, was that a surprise? Because I was following her on Facebook. Like, I hardly ever do Facebook. Like, I only have Facebook, and it's not even under my own name. So that I could do things like StitchCon or that kind of stuff. And obviously Stash Unload. So anyway, I follow her because sometimes she posts a free pattern. And there all of a sudden when I was checking Facebook one night was my Flosstube little thumbnail. Oh my gosh. Holy crow. So anyway, we emailed a little bit. And she said, I want to send you some patterns as a thank you. And I said, oh, that's so sweet. I said, the only one I have is this one and that one, whatever. I have the same foursome that I bought that I gave away. And it includes this. So I have a total of 4 of her patterns. I'm looking around for the other half of the stack. I'm not, oh, here it is. I don't want to mix them because she sent me every pattern she has, I believe, plus extra of many of them, multiple of quite a few of them, like 10 or 12 of the favorite, and a second one. So I have like 10 or 12 of a second one, and then these are all the ones I don't have. See, there's no picture to show you. Maybe there's a picture on the postcard. Yes, there's a picture on the postcard. So that was so exciting. I am telling you, that was so exciting. I didn't even link her. Apparently, if I had linked her and people were using that link, because I didn't know where to link anything to. There wasn't a store. But if a store or somebody's getting suddenly a lot of traffic, they can go back and find out where they're getting that traffic from. I didn't know what to link and where to link it from. So I haven't quite figured out how I am going to share these. I don't know. If I say I'm going to share them just at StitchCon, for example, there's only maybe 25 here. There's a lot more people going to StitchCon. That's unfair to the general viewership. But I don't know that I'm up to a whole contest or anything like that. That's, you know, I just don't know. So I'm open to ideas. I'm open to ideas of exactly how I can pop one of these postcards in the mail to somebody. And maybe, if no idea floats my boat, it'll just be occasionally a random thing. We'll see. So there's that little beautiful thing. So let me show you. I'm going to show this because, again, I have a stack of these of her business card so that you can see it. See what it's about. At any rate, and her business cards are way cute because they have a little pattern on the back. So cute. So stinking cute. I love the originality of it. So, there you go. That's the end of that part of my to-do list. So my whips. I am working on the 5th block of Farmhouse Christmas. What is that? Grandma's quilt? Cute. My grandma didn't quilt. Well, one of them did. I take that back. One of them did. She just became unable to quilt when I was a very young child, so my recollection of her quilting is very limited. So I have done the border. I'm starting on the quilt. The big debate this month is, because I'm doing a quilt and I'm really tired of boxing things in. Box it in, box it in, box it in. I don't know if I'll do the quilt that Lynette designed, her 5th one, or not, or if I'll skip this month. The problem is that September for me is a crazy busy month. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Like extensive travel. Extensive. 10, 12, 14, 15. I bet half the month I am away. So anyway, it's kind of wimping out not to do it this month because September's really the month I should anticipate not doing the companion block. It's not really a companion. I'm just doing one and one. Wine, 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 wine. Okay, I'm feeling whiny. So that's that whip. And then in between when I finally got caught up on the Farmhouse Christmas and could go back, this is the 2nd month when I could do some work on Winter Sampler. And I leave this laying out when I'm working on it and I just can't stop staring at it. I know, right? I didn't design it, so I'm not feeling like I'm being prideful or anything. I am just so in love. I love Christmas things. I love winter, the blues, the reds and greens. Holy cow. So a biggest chunk of this month's work was on the gingerbread cookie and across the bottom. But I will put a picture here. I'm getting better at taking pictures when I start something. A picture here of what it looked like before I started this time. I thought I would get a couple more days in, but I didn't. Who knows what happened? I don't know. Something came along. Something happened. So I'm so in love with that. And then, let me see. I have to see. Oh, Downstairs in my evening stitching chair, I am working on my Heaven and Earth design pattern, and I am still reluctant to show you because it's on Q-snaps, and it just looks like, you know, it is intense. Oh, shoot. Sorry, all my magnets are falling out because I use magnet boards for my pattern placement. The magnet boards stayed in the bag. The pattern came out with all the magnets. This is just a little, I pick it up because I am just not up to doing all the confetti and the Heaven and Earth design or whatever. So, oh, things are falling out all over the place because now I have threads I left in there. Picking this up, like if it's an evening when I'm just too tired and don't want to work on the Heaven and Earth design piece, I get this one out. I'm doing the geranium leaves is what I'm working on. And I already talked about how the gridding, this was my trial at gridding in the pattern duplicates several lines. So even though I grid it every 10 and the pattern pretends it's gridding every 10, halfway through the pattern, it's jumps to 14 and then 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. So I just started pulling my grids out because obviously they aren't going to match up when I got to the halfway point of that pattern. So I think I just knocked a thread on the floor. Here is where there will be a picture of before I started it. And here, so I had to make sure it's right side up because it's that, like, you know, easy to tell. Here it is now. So every now and then I did a little bit of the background shadowing, which is just half stitches. These leaves will look fabulous once I do the outlining. So that's my little respite piece, which is really hard to call it a respite piece. Look how many threads it takes. And this one's really generally full. I have a bunch of the greens out, spilling all over my desk here. So let me put that back because you know how it is. You go back later and you don't know what the heck you did. And then what else is going on? I am going to StitchCon, in case I didn't mention that, in just over 2 weeks. So I am picking out what whips I am taking. And they are whips. They are already started projects. I pulled them out. I don't have a picture of before on this one because this one, I just picked it up on a whim a couple nights and put in some stitches. My goal in the most recent stitching was to get all the boxes done, the picture frames. This is the Crazy Turkey. I was working on it the other night and in the evening I get about 2 hours of stitching time. So I just kept going with the turkey and his big plump wing. So that is going to StitchCon with me. And also going to StitchCon with me is another one that I don't even remember when I started this. And now all of a sudden we're seeing it all over. It's got a price tag on it. What is it? Farm Fresh Cherries. And I'm doing it on, I don't even know how much I have done. Did I say I started it? There's not a stitch in here. So apparently I don't even have to worry about when I started it. I have it all ready to go. I thought I put some stitches in. Clearly not. I am going to, my goal is to, again, box in so that I have that part done before I go and try to stitch in a crowd. Look, it's all in here, all ready to go. All the threads, there's a needle in there. I honestly really did think I started it. Maybe I pulled it out and something came up that interfered with my evening of stitching. And then I had a weak moment. I couldn't stand it another minute. Probably Stitch Mania did this to me because I'm not doing Stitch Mania because I already have more whips. Look, I had a whole, whatever, how long I haven't had a single finish except Farmhouse Christmas. I have been looking at this one I got. This is a Christmas present, Silver Creek Samplers. This is a good time to talk about this. I told Kitten Stitcher Teresa that I was going to talk about this back when she had her store, Shakespeare's Peddler, she did this thing where I don't remember what it was called. She didn't remember what it was called either, so I don't even feel bad. Where you filled out an application and you sent it to her like in the fall, and she matched you up with a buddy, like a pen pal kind of thing, a stitching pal. And you guys, the two of you paired up, would do an exchange like every month, however you worked it out, whatever you wanted to do. And it was just to get to know you. It was fun. It was a fun way to build your stash and to get to know another stitcher. So I was paired up with my friend Rebecca, and she will remember better how long ago it was, because her daughter was a baby, like a brand new baby at the time, and I think she'll be 14 this fall. So that long. It's been a long time. And we did an exchange every month, and this is really the time when I started really stitching with overdyes and on linens and even weave. Even I maybe was mostly Ada prior to that. It's very possible. I mean, I know I had worked on some linen and or even weave prior to that, but as far as having any stash of it, I didn't. Or overdyed flosses, I didn't. So anyway, we would exchange projects like patterns, kits. You know, we would kit up things for each other. We gave each other a wish list every year and kitted things up and that kind of stuff. And then a number of years ago, we decided we were both drowning in our stash, and then we decided to only exchange birthdays and Christmas. So that's where we're at. And so anyway, the original arrangement was you guys would pair up for a year, and then at the end of the year you would sign up and get a new swap partner, but we never stopped. So we've met on a couple of occasions. She was in New York the summer before last, and she came and visited, and we spent a day at my house, and that was fun. And then we had another occasion when we got to meet. It's been really fun, very, very, very fun. We were so well matched. We both have the same accounting major in college and worked in that field and that kind of thing. So that was kind of fun. So anyway, this was a Christmas or birthday gift from her. And one of the things that happens is when she sends an exchange, and I do the same back, so it's not like this is one-sided, I don't always know what the fabric is. So I can't always say what the fabric is when I get an exchange from her. So anyway, Silver Creek Samplers, what is this one called? Why is there not a name? Totally don't see a name. Anyway, I don't know. It's a Christmas sampler. Maybe on the pattern there's a name, but there's so many pages to it, I'm not pulling it out. And I have been staring at that all kitted up in my basket of goodies next to my stitching chair since Christmas. So I pulled it out and I gave it a start. Right in the middle. Right smack in the middle. Let me see if I can find the spot. So I've done the dove in the first couple letters of peppermint. I'm not going to be able to resist doing this, so I'm going to try to only do maybe a motif in a word or a couple words and put it away again, just to whet my appetite. It's not going to be small. It's not small. But if I break it down into smalls, I'll see some progress. So I had a weak moment and started that in May. I'm kind of toying with the idea of starting something every month. I don't know. It's getting overwhelming because I have so many whips already kitted up and started. So we'll see. I may be able to have some sort of self-control. I'm not going to say that for sure. I am going to say with some degree of certainty that I am tired of doing a monthly, like an automatic monthly, that isn't something that's already in my stash, because I have like Lizzie Kate's Tingles, and I have Jingles, except I can't find it. Did I say that before? I cannot find that batch of patterns. I stitched one of them 1/1 and made an ornament, So I didn't even use the button because the button really needed me to do a 2/2 or 1/2, depending on your fabric, but it needed to be bigger, not the teeny tiny little 1/1. I cannot find it. I have my patterns all in files in boxes, like in a big plastic box, and they're hanging files in there. Sometimes it's by subject and sometimes by designer. It just depends on if it's a designer I have a lot of. I cannot find Jingles anywhere. It's like 12 little patterns, 6 little patterns. I don't remember if there's one on each card or 2. I don't know. But anyway, I have enough things like that. I have wordplay that I would like to do 1 a month. So I need to stop having new 1 a month things come to my house. I did what did I do last year? The Early Americans I was doing, and then the year before I did a year in chalk. So I'm kind of tired of the new, not new things. There's always fabulous new things. I need to do the same regiment with things I already own. That's what it's coming down to. So anyway, let's see. Keep saying I want to always have in the works a prairie schooler, and I don't. One is kitted up. It's in a project bag somewhere downstairs. I saw it yesterday, so it's there. And I'd like to always have a Sue Hillis because I love her designs. I probably have a dozen or so of her patterns, and she'll be at StitchCon, and I know I'll be acquiring more. Her colors that she uses are just classic, especially the Christmas ones, classic reds and greens. I've only finished a couple of hers, so I don't know what my problem is. Eye candy. Every time I turn around, there's some new, fancier eye candy I need to stitch. So, it would be okay maybe if I started a Prairie Schooler and a Sue Hillis in the near future. June, what is it, the 5th? I haven't started anything new, so I still have June available with a time slot open. Yeah. So anyway, as far as I talked about my StitchCon projects, my whips, my open road, my pillow tutorial. One thing I didn't show you, people are showing this, otherwise I wouldn't have done it, but my StitchCon exchange piece is a shepherd's bush pillow. I put me on the back and the details. It came out really cute. So that's my exchange. It's going to be mystery who gets it, and whatever bag you get, you keep. So somebody can't even steal it. It's kind of fun that way. I had a purchase, and it was... I was ordering some things from Amazon, and it was on my wish list, and I was like, I think I need to get that now. So I bought it, and I'm going to guess that this was a pattern I saw when Pam and Steph showed patterns, because if Pam likes something Sea Life, this Pam likes it too. Nautical. It's so pretty. Everything's so pretty. Oh, and they even have, let's see if I can not show you the pattern. They have like fun, unusual finish ideas in here, which, you know, we're all into that you didn't have to pay for the framing. Just use your imagination. It's mostly patterns after that. So I found it on Amazon, probably from an independent seller, purchased it. It's pretty. I'd love to start something. We'll see. And then another purchase was Kelly. You know Kelly Stodota. Did I say that right, Kelly? Joan and Kelly, they do a Flosstube together. Joan is Mama Joan. I met them both at the Minnesota retreat, the first one they had. And Kelly has an Etsy store called That's So Kelly. And she made these, and they were sold out when she first talked about them, and I watched until they were back in, because I thought, did you see all those flosses falling all over when I was pulling things out? Because look at what this does. Do I have it upside down? Yep. She has put, let's see if we can combat the light to see. This is just like an embroidery machine outline of, you know, a little floss card. And when you have a little bit of floss that you're not ready to put back on your floss card yet, you lay it here. See, this is a little bit of felt like, and it'll stick there, and then you can just close the little book. You can put your floss card over here if you want, because that's what you're actively using. And there's a magnet in there, right in here, to hold your needle. If you need a place to rest your needle, this is so easy. You just can put it right over the arm of your chair. Look at your little floss cards drop down in there. And you have your little leftover, you know, you're going to put it in your needle again soon, or it's when you pulled off 6-ply and you're not using all the plies. Put your plies on there, and you have a spot for your needle, so you're not sticking it in wherever randomly you're sticking it and then losing it like me. Right there. Look how cool is that? So when they were back in her shop, I quick like a bunny, ordered one. I can sew just about anything. I have those skills, so I'm not trying to steal anybody's idea. But I'd have to go find how to put the snaps in and buy the thing, and I don't have an embroidery machine to make the very cute floss card things. And I don't know, I'd be chasing down magnets somewhere to put under there. It's just all very complicated. I just ordered one. And what would be really cool is to have one in every pattern, or whip. But we're not going all crazy now. So pretty much that's it for my purchases. I'm not showing you what I bought at the wool store because there's a whole other stuff. There's a lot going on. Some of it aimed towards StitchCon, and some of it aimed towards a project that's in the mail. Speaking of in the mail, because at the same time I ordered that other pattern, I ordered Quilt Long Dog Summer, right? Is that the name? I ordered quilts that ends with a Z. I was liking to pretend that pattern didn't exist until Kathleen the Trodden Trail showed. She started it for Stitch Mania. When I talk about a panic, I'm going, no, please don't start that, because then I'll want to buy it and start it too, which I already did, but I thought I could hold off for, I don't know, until maybe my, I don't know. So anyway, I had been stitching and watching Flosstube, and I got up from my stitching chair and gathered all my things, which included my iPad, and I dropped my iPad on the floor, carpeted and all, and I have a very nice cover for mine that's like padded and good and sturdy, and my iPad smashed. The screen smashed into a million pieces. Just a million. It was a sad day. So I'm coming to you from a brand new iPad, which I unhappily had to pay full price for. iPad screens are not replaceable. So even though Apple's, I'm going to do it. I'm saying it. Even though Apple's website talks all about how much it costs to replace the screen. No, that's not what they want to do. They don't replace the screen. They sell you a refurbished version of your same iPad. Only refurbished is a bad word in their store, and they don't use that word. They say new. They use the word new when they mean it's been used and refurbished. So, not a happy camper. Not a happy girl. Anyway, I have a new one. The other one was pretty darn new too. Just over a year old. But broken screens. What do you do? So, anywho, I don't even know. I can't even say I'll treat it better. It just slipped out of my hand, 3 feet to the floor, thickly carpeted, and smashed into a million pieces. We'll see. Maybe I'll put the picture here. I don't know. Wasn't a happy day. Anyway, I'm not going to upload this till tomorrow because I'll take the iPad with me to the grocery store and use their much faster Wi-Fi than I have here on my country road. So I hope everybody has a nice Tuesday. I have laundry to fold, and I don't have anywhere to go today, which I'm happy about. I have pillows to stuff, as you saw, and projects to sew. I have to get the iron out so I can smush this baby and show it to you in its new flat version. And it's ribbon to put on so it can hang. So there's lots to do. It's a busy world in my house. So 2 weeks and 2 days, I will be on my way to StitchCon. Ironically, I think Cincinnati's like 400 miles from here, but you can't get there from here. So I'll fly east to go west, and then coming home, I'll fly north to go southeast. But I'm not driving. That's not an option. So anyway, have a good Tuesday. Hopefully the sun is shining, and hopefully you're getting lots of stitching done.